All right, Algebra 2, here we go. We are basically halfway through the chapter. Okay, so Chapter 8, Section 5. This is all about solving rational equations and inequalities. So we're kind of getting back into the whole inequality situation. Again, don't forget what we've done as far as figuring out how to get the least common denominator, because the least common denominator is going to be really important in this section, all right? Because you're going to have a lot of problems where denominators are all different, and if you can find the least common denominator, then that's going to allow you to cross a lot of stuff out right at the beginning, okay? So right here, if you're given a proportion, I'm going to show you how to do that. Basically, fraction equaling another fraction. You can do a lot of cross multiplying. Those are the easy kind of problems, all right? If it's just a fraction equaling a fraction, or even if it's a fraction equaling just a regular whole number, cross multiplication is going to work very well. On the other hand, if you're given three terms, that kind of takes out the whole something equaling something because there's that added piece, then it's all about those common denominators. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple problems right off the bat where we would do a lot with common denominators, get that LCD, least common denominator, and then we can cross a lot of stuff out. The one thing I will teach you in class is solve by graphing. Okay, so that's going to be rational inequalities solved by graphing. We're going to do that problem in class together. All right, so let's get through a few example problems so you can see what we're talking about. Okay, all right, first one, here we go. So you'll notice we have x, then a 4, and a 4. Those are our denominators. So what you have to figure out right off the bat here is what is your common denominator, okay? Because if you're given a 4 and an x and another 4, well, these guys are both good, but that one right there kind of messes things up. X can't become 4, 4 can't become x. So you got to show the two together. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply all three fractions by the common denominator of 4x. All right, so the common denominator is just put those two together. So we're going to multiply all three of these fractions by 4x because that is the common denominator. Now, this will allow us to cross out all these denominators, but leave some of it left over. All right, so the pieces that get left over, and cross out the 4, cross out the 4, cross out the 4, cross out the 4, cross out the x, cross out the x, but you have pieces left over. So you still have 6 times 4, 24, plus 5 times x, 5x, equaling -7. There's still an x left over, so -7x. But the key thing is that all those denominators are gone. We're not dealing with fractions at all for the rest of this problem. All right, take the 5x, bring it over to this side, giving you -5x. So now you have 24 equals -12x. Okay, simply solve for x, basic algebra. X equals -2. Okay, and again, at any point in time, if a problem, an example problem doesn't make sense, go back, watch it again. Really follow it step by step, okay? Then the next day, ask me questions in class. Okay, here we go. Example problem number 2. So what you will notice here is we really only have one denominator. It's just x. That means that this is just over a 1 and this is just over a 1. So we're going to multiply everything in this problem by just x. Okay, so times x times x times x. Okay, and this is the only one where they will cross out. Everything else, it has to get combined together. So that means you're really looking at now x squared equals 6 minus x. Okay, let's take the 6 minus x and move it over so that we get everything together, and it's going to create a trinomial that we can factor. All right, so we're going to move the 6 over. We're going to move that negative x over. Then we're looking at x squared. I didn't want to move the x squared because that would make it become a negative, and that just gets a little bit messy. All right, plus x minus 6. Okay, then we can factor it. X here, x here. This is going to be a plus, then a minus. Factors of 6 that when I use subtraction will create 1, and I want that to be a positive 1. It's going to be 3 and negative 2. Then we have to solve the binomials because we're not done yet. We have the binomials, but now we need to solve them to get the final answer. So x is going to equal a negative 3 and a positive 2. Now, how do I get that? What I'm doing is I'm taking each of these binomials and separately I'm setting them equal to 0. So in other words, I mean x plus 3 equals 0. Solve it. That's how I got negative 3. Then x minus 2 equals 0. Solve it. That's how I got 2. All right, good. Let's move on. Third example problem. Okay, so what we're looking at here, let's go ahead and we can factor this guy right here. Right, we can factor this right here because that is a perfect square binomial. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to look at 16 over, what was that, x plus 4, x minus 4. And then that's equal to 2 over x minus 4. Okay, so right here, we could multiply both sides by that common denominator. And in this case, what is our common denominator? It's actually this entire denominator. Both sides already possess the x minus 4's, right? This side, on the other hand, does not possess the x plus 4. So I'm going to multiply both sides, though, by the x plus 4, x minus 4, and you are going to see that's still going to cross everything out. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Multiply both sides by the common denominator. X plus 4, x minus 4, x plus 4, x minus 4. All right, so we'll see what this does for us here is these guys cross out. This crosses out. Okay, then that's going to leave us with a 16 on top. And then we have to distribute the 2 into the x plus 4. Right here and right here. Okay. All right, so we're going to get 16 equals 2x plus 8. All right, now let's go through. Subtract 8. Subtract 8. And we're looking at 8 equals 2x. Okay. Divide both sides by 2. And 4 equals x. Now, this is one of those problems where really you did everything right. Everything worked out. okay, x equals 4. Unfortunately, so many students in this specific chapter would actually get this problem wrong. Here's why. Because if we just say, great, x equals 4, and we move on, what you're going to miss is the fact that if you take 4 and plug it in right here and plug it in right here, something bad happens. 4 times 4, what I'm doing is I'm focusing on this one right here. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. That's not good. Then take this, plug it in right here. 4 minus 4 is also 0. That's not good. Why is that not good? Because whenever you have a 0 in the denominator, that makes it undefined. So what we just determined after all that work, finding out that x equals 4, you actually have the answer is no solution. The answer is no solution. And in fact, just to not confuse you, I'm going to erase that circle because we know that that's not actually the answer. Now, what did we learn here is the unfortunate thing that you got to check your work based upon what the denominator would be. Okay, you've been doing it in the past leading up to this section. You've been figuring out what x can't equal. This problem just proved x equaled what it can't be. And what happens when that is the situation is you actually get an answer that is no solution. Okay, good. All of that being said, let's move on to number 4. Okay, so let's do this. Let's put this like that so that it's looking like just a straight cross multiply situation. All right, this is nice because if our denominator on one side is just 1, you can just cross multiply. All right, what I mean is let's put this in parentheses and take that -2, distribute it to both pieces here, take that 8 and just multiply it by that 1 right there. No need for this whole multiply both sides and cross things out because a 1 in the denominator is quite nice. All right, so 8 times 1 just gives you 8. -2 times x, -2 times 1. All right, and now just simple algebra. Let's add 2 to both sides. -2x equals 10. And x equals -5. Okay, so that right there, take a look at that. If we check this, right, like we just did our last one, if we were to plug this -5 in right here, everything is still okay. -5 plus 1 does not equal 0. So this one proves out real quick. We double checked it. -5 really is the answer for this one. All right. Now, this last problem here, number 5, solved by graphing. We're going to do it in class together so I can show you on your graphing calculators exactly what we're doing, how to graph it, plug it in, look at the table, and then determine what our actual solution will be. Because with inequalities, you're going to get 2 different solutions, and the inequality plays a key part in that. All right, so we're going to do that part in class. Make sure that you remind Mr. A so I don't forget to show you how to do that, and then you'll be all good. All right, ask questions, write down the notes, and I will see you guys in the next video.